Hi and welcome to the Fussball channel. I'm your host Marcus Fjørtoft, and as always joined by co-host Jan Fjørtoft for this Champions League preview of the Bundesliga teams, Dad. And we have some great matchups, so we'll go straight into it. It's PSG against Bayern. It's number one against number two in the Champions League. Last played each other in the Club World Cup. PSG beat Bayern then in the quarterfinals, but a bit has changed since then. Bayern 15 games wins to start the season. Unprecedented in European history in the top five leagues. What can we expect, do you think, of this game? That away to Paris Saint-Germain for Bayern. Yeah, what are we thinking?
What a game we have on our hands. I mean, so many great individuals in both teams. I mean, if you do it mathematically and if we were setting the odds, I mean, you have to go Bayern because PSG has been struggling a bit in the beginning of the season. I mean, they haven't lost in Marseille. I think they had a draw against Strasbourg. I mean, they haven't been on top. But remember last season as well, they were slow starters. They nearly didn't get out of the group. And then they ended up winning the Champions League the final. So, and Luis Enrique, great coach. So is Vincent Kompany. So, I mean, I'm so looking forward to this game. And as we were talking about in our episode in the main episode, we were saying that Bayern would save the best players. They were on the bench against Leverkusen, still winning 3-0. Just means they are in a superb form. So this is a big test for Bayern, but we say that all the time. They had a big test against Chelsea. They beat Chelsea. But this is one. There's so many good games this week. I mean, it's Liverpool against Real Madrid as well. It is Manchester City against Dortmund that we're going to talk more about. But I mean, PSG. I remember I was reading your stats, Marcus, and I saw that normally Bayern have a good win rate against PSG. But I remember the last game of Ancelotti. I've been talking about that before. PSG knocked Bayern so down in Parc des Princes. And after the game, me and Jamie Carragher, we worked together. We were walking down the tunnel, and Ancelotti was like 5 meters in front of us, and he looked so depressed. His body language was terrible. And I remember I said to Jamie Carragher, that's why we're never going to be coaches. And a day later, he was fired at Bayern. So this is a game with a lot of tradition. There is a lot of prestige in there. Some leaders in there on both sides that love to beat each other, but still cooperate in the development of football. So yeah, a fantastic football game.
And I just want to get your quick thoughts on this narrative, I guess, of Bayern proving themselves against the very best. We know how well they've started. They beat Chelsea, they beat Pafos, etc. Only 4 goals conceded in the Bundesliga, 2 in the Champions League, 1 a great Cole Palmer strike, another great Pafos strike as well. How important is it for Vincent Kompany to have a strong performance, a strong result in this? Should we lean into that narrative? It's like, well, it's all good that you have those 15 wins, but when it comes to the PSG, you can't win. How do you see that?
Well, there's a lot of unemployed journalists and media guys in the Bayern area at the moment because they're used to soap opera. They are used to them losing games. We're used to them playing bad games, winning. They're used to have a coach that says something stupid or say something odd, but there's nothing now. So I mean, probably they were waiting for this, but because it's very calm now in and around Bayern. I think for Kompany, it's all about this narrative, like you were saying, that can you beat the best teams? Can you go all the way to Champions League? But if we look back on the last season, it was Inter that knocked Bayern out, but remember how close that was as well. So when you see this Bayern team, we have talked a lot about how broad, how big is this squad, how good is the quality of this squad. But I think that's based on they're getting more injuries. They got Musiala and Davies out now, but still the rest of the boys have been not injured. Gnabry has been around. He has been available all the time. You have Kimmich going into his role. Kane scoring for fun. Luis Diaz is taking the Bundesliga with storm. Manuel Neuer is still one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and suddenly the centre half don't do the big mistakes. It seems that the Upamecano has taken more another step in his football career. So it's looking very good now at Bayern. But big clubs like that there is always one result away from something. So for Vincent Kompany's credibility, I mean, a win in Paris will be big for him. But for the confidence of a club that wants to go back and be a contender for
going into Napoli Eintracht Frankfurt, that Napoli top of Serie A. Eintracht with a bit of a roller coaster season, a roller coaster Champions League campaign. It's been the same for Napoli as well. They lost to Man City, lost 6-2 to PSV Eindhoven, beat Sporting Lisboa 1-0, held 0-0 by Como at the weekend against Cesc Fabregas. A tough test for Eintracht. There's been a bit of dispute in terms of bringing fans over, etc. That is obviously, there's that significant backdrop, but it's also a case of Eintracht really needing to get back into Champions League form after a couple of rather devastating defeats.
The good thing about Eintracht Frankfurt the last 3 games is that they've seen better at the back. I mean, they didn't concede against St. Pauli. Against Dortmund, yes, they got a goal. Should have been offside, by the way. But they didn't concede a lot of chances either. Then Heidenheim 1-1. So they have to look after backwards. I mean, the defensive need to be looked after. I think we will see a more disciplined game from Eintracht against Napoli. The thing with the fans is scandalous. I mean, how can another club choose if you want to have away fans there or not? I mean, that is so an advantage for every club if they can just play with their own fans. That's been said. De Bruyne is out for Napoli. We wish him well. He's been out with a big injury. Big test for Eintracht. Big test for the young players to come in that Napoli game. I've been there many times working in Napoli. It's just as it was when Diego Maradona was there some years ago. But that is a great game as well.
And Johnny Burkhardt, who didn't start against Liverpool, to some people's surprise, he's got 3 goals in 3 games, joint highest German score in the Champions League with Dortmund midfielder Felix Nemcha, actually. So, there will be opportunities for Eintracht, only failed to score once this season. So hopefully we see some goals, but against the Serie A leaders away, a new very big test for Eintracht following games against Liverpool and Atletico Madrid. Now we got the Haaland derby, Dad. Obviously, Man City against Dortmund, and I look forward to this test, Dad, because we know how threatening Man City can be with Erling Haaland. I think he's the only player to have scored 2 goals or more for Man City, which just shows the dependency Man City have on Erling Haaland. But against the Dortmund team that is extremely strong defensively, structurally under Kovač.
And we know that's going to be the Haaland goals. We'll just see how many Dortmund would score. I mean, at this weekend, they played Bournemouth. And I said in the studio yesterday, it was like Erling Haaland called them up and said, listen, can you have a high line so I can have a space behind so I can get one against the goalkeeper? And
several times, by the way. He should have scored more than 2 even.
Yeah, he scored 3 or 4. And I took him off as well. He'd been taken off 15 times and avoiding a hat-trick after had 2 goals.
Is that the stat?
Yeah. 15 times. He didn't like that. Well, he likes it. He knows that you need to rest a bit. but you know that he will do well against it. This is a fantastic test also for Dortmund. But for City, the jury is still out there. They're second in the Premier League. Well, as we speak, we don't know the game with Sunderland, because if Sunderland beat Everton, they have passed them, amazingly enough. But Dortmund, we know discipline. City, I'm not sure defensively. Will they stand up against the Guirassy or the offensive players there? So this is going to be a great game, as you will say, and of course, Erling Haaland will score 1 or 2 goals.
To put into context quickly, Niko Kovac's record in Champions League, since losing 4-0 Barcelona in the quarterfinal, they have just lost 2 of 26 competitive games. This will be Kovac's 40th game in charge. His points per game average is 2.1, just second only to Thomas Tuchel amongst the permanent Dortmund coaches. That Barcelona game remains their only Champions League loss under Kovač. 1-3 won 5, sorry, drawn 3. Interesting matchup we will see there, and brings us to the last game, and that is Benfica against Bayer Leverkusen. 2 clubs that have brought in new managers early on in the season. Mourinho obviously replacing Bruno Lage in mid-September, unbeaten in 9 domestic games, while Leverkusen very much turned around their fortunes in the Bundesliga and a very strong record at that, but obviously lost 3-0 to Bayern, a slight setback. But both looking for their first wins of the Champions League campaign as well.
Yeah, and Benfica losing against Karabakh. I mean, that's the reason Mourinho is there, because the coach was sacked. Then they lost to Chelsea. Then they lost to Newcastle. This is the last chance for Benfica. They need to win this. They won in the league 3-0 away from home. Aursnes from Hareid in my region in Sunnmøre.
Even on the team.
Yeah, and Schjelderup, he's been a bit in and out of the team, but Aursnes is playing all the time. And then you go Leverkusen, who need to prove themselves that they can take this level. So this is a big test for this is a last chance saloon for both teams, and hereby it's going to be a very exciting games, because the loser in this game is out. You have no chance to, I will say. And Mourinho, the old fox, he need a winning Champions League to kind of keep the narrative that he's still around as being one of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah, like you say, they are unbeaten in 9 domestic matches, but 3 straight Champions League losses. Look out for Vangelis Pavlidis, 13 goals in 20 games across all competitions. For Leverkusen, Andrik is suspended after that red card. Palacios and Eki Fernandez are injured, so expect to see some reshuffles in the midfield. And Patrick Schick is back, while Grimaldo, I think, was rested at the weekend, injured, what have you, but will more than likely be back. That leaves us with nothing but to say, but good luck to the German teams, and auf Wiedersehen to yourself as we go into another electrifying Champions League midweek campaign. Any parting words?
No, I'm just thinking of how many of these teams will go on to the next round. I got a feeling that 2 or 3 at least will come, but I will wait, as I have a heart in Napoli this week. I will hope that Eintracht will have a good performance, and the rest is then the consequences. And we talked about that a lot, Marcus. That is all about the consequences of that. But I think Dino Topmüller looks for a professional, disciplined performance in Napoli.
Perfect. Without further ado, auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.